What is up, guys? Welcome to the Unfazed Facts Podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things Gym Leader Challenge. I'm your host, Joshua Benson, and this is my co-host, Jeff Baisch. And we just got off a long weekend at Full Grip where they hosted pretty much a 6K, a 3K standard tournament, and a 3K Gym Leader Challenge tournament. And we're here to talk about some Gym Leader Challenge. It was a pretty fun weekend. Jeff and I missed it yet again, but we got to watch it on stream, and that was actually pretty fun. I didn't actually personally get to watch everything. I've been trying to catch up the last few. Was it this last weekend or the weekend before?
I think it was 2 weekends ago because I went on vacation this week. So yeah,
Tom,
2 weekends ago.
Tom actually flies. We didn't get off the weekend. It's a whole, yeah. Anyways, it was great. I've been trying to, I was like, I don't think I could catch up that quickly, but I've been trying to catch up, make sure I, get everything I can just so we can talk about it. And, Jeff, did you catch any of the stream at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I took a little nap-a-rooney, so I got to watch some of the games a little bit after it started. Got to kind of check in through it throughout the day. Got to catch a little bit of almost every game, it felt like, especially since they take forever, which, is one of the things that people really enjoy about Gym Leader Challenge. But yeah, I get to start out my day with some Gym Leader Challenge. It was great, dude. I think Spence's match was up first. I remember watching Dragon put in, and we'll talk more about that list in a little bit, but I remember watching that just be like kind of a clinical win for Spence over a Psychic deck that was really cool. And just watching kind of different players and faces that we kind of recognize and have talked about kind of show up on screen and do their thing over the course of 10 hours was just so fun. So it was great to see. We got to see a lot of cool new things. Destined Rivals just got released, and we had just put out our set release video, I think maybe the day before. So I was excited to see what cards got played during the weekend, Josh. None of them.
Hey.
None of them got played.
Hey, Destined Rivals, T-Tar, your Team Rocket's Tyranitar was able to get played at one point.
Yeah.
On stream, actually. I think there was 3 decks I heard that were playing Team Rocket's Tyranitar.
Yeah, it seems like Mr. Tricky Jim was able to maybe convince some people to play his version of Hitmon's, which I imagine he played on Thursday. So he went 4-0 at Full Group Games and then convinced people on Thursday that they should be playing his deck. So if you think about how many reps they had, because they're probably not playing Thursday night that same deck, right? So over the course of Friday and Saturday, how many reps did they put in? One of them showed up on Scream, and you might have seen maybe the lack of time they've had with that deck kind of show up. Andrew was commentating the entire time and being like, oh, they should have done this. They should have done this. And I was like, dude, you gave him the deck with 2 days, 2 days to prepare.
I think at one point he said that was the worst possible play you could have made right there in that situation.
I felt so bad. As someone who's played Hitmon Bros a whole lot, that is not a deck that you can just pick up and be like, I'm going to be successful. But they were 4-1 going into the match. So they clearly have been successful throughout the day. But that one game was a little difficult to watch, but it still seems like they had a lot of success with it. I mean, you were playing Tyranitar. There's finally a playable Tyranitar. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and there's a lot more kind of decision making whenever you put Team Rocket's Tyranitar into a deck like that, because it's do you try to prioritize getting out T-Tar quickly, or are you trying to get the Hitmon combo off? Because T-Tar is only good for basics. But if you can get it out quick and two rounds of that, you're getting 6 damage counters, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
With that.
It's such a weird card because it does play really well into what Hitmon Bros is trying to do. But it's so the opposite end of the spectrum of what the combo is. And so when I saw Team Rocket's Tyranitar, I didn't even think about really putting it into Hitmon Bros, because I was just you combo or you okie dokie. Those are the 2 things you need to do. So it was cool to see Andrew have success with that list. I'm going to try it out before I say anything good or bad about it. I think the list is awesome. I played a version slightly different with Ting Lu. I'm not sure if Ting Lu's the home either. I'm not sure if there is a home, which makes me a little sad, but I'm going to keep playing Team Rocket's Tyranitar for a while. Maybe at the next Full Group Games 3K. Who knows?
Hey, that would be sweet if we could make our way out there. That'd
Dude,
be absolutely incredible.
the scheduling for it's like so off. Like the one that we just had was like school had just ended and I was going on vacation, so there was no way I was gonna make it. And I was like, cool, maybe over the summer I'll have some extra time. I'll be able to like kind of organize some things with my wife and be able to go before school starts. But I don't think the next set release until like I'm back in school. So it's just like,
Yeah, I think it's like September, and that's like what, like you've been in school for a month and a half by then.
exactly. No way I'll make it, but I'll hope. I'll dream.
I keep on hoping that I'm going to be able to make it out soon. But I don't know. I don't know. It seems like we're not going to get there until like in December. And then I think the only week I'm going to be there is going to be like the week that Christmas Eve is on Thursday. So I can't even go to league then.
I'll be there when little Baisch graduates high school. He'll 18, ship him out the door, hop in my car, drive to Akron, Ohio.
Yeah.
We're there.
Yeah, you got like 15 years left, buddy.
It's all right. Honing my craft. I'll be so good at Hitmons by then. But then by then, every type will have a bench bear, and I'll just be smoked.
Every time. Hey, Grass just got one, so that's good. Another card that I enjoyed seeing played, Sarah, she played a Jumpluff deck. Double hit Jumpluff. I'm not sure the entire deck, but I was so excited. I think I heard it in the chat first. I asked something and somebody said, we got a donk. And I was like, sweet. And then I think Natalie said, but it was a Jumpluff donk. And I was like, even better. I love Jumpluff. I'm a big fan of the Jumpluff. Even like the spread deck, using it with the Rapistrack scroll of not the skies, but the Maelstrom, whatever that one is. That hits 30 to everything, and you can swing for basically like a Hitmon top, but Jumpluff. I really like using that combo, even though it's like the most stupid combo to get together, because it's like a 10 card combo for a 90 HP stage 2. It's like absolutely terrible, but if you can get that super early and super quick, you're not doing too bad. But I was super excited to see Sarah got a really awesome donk on stream, and then I think went on to get 22nd place with Jumpluff. I think you posted something like Jumpluff, Lurantis, and some other Pokemon. I think Badoo is another one of her favorites in the deck. But I thought that was super cool. I was excited to hear about the double hit donk with Jumpluff on stream.
Yeah, I looked in it too. That was really cool because, like, obviously, like, so much has to go right for that deck to do its thing early and often. And, like, you know, when she's like searching for the Skip Plume on turn 2, you're like, cool, she's got the Skip Plume. And then you guys know if you attach a grass energy to Skip Plume, you can immediately go and evolve it. So then you need the Jumpluff in your deck. And then I think she needed the Muscle Band on top of that to be able to do 80, because I think one of the Pokemon had 70 HP. So just like all that had to go right for that to happen on turn 2 is really cool and really powerful. And that you're like, man, if any one of those cards was prized, like that game's going on for a long time. I did hear that her other donk, and this is Sarah, I think her name is Cyber Bunny. This is my first interaction seeing her, and I guess she's a lot more popular than I had known. But Hoppit was one of her donks. I guess she like attached grass, and then she hit like the double heads that did like extra damage to get the donk.
Oh my god!
On one of the games, so that was kind of busted. So I was excited to see the double attack grass deck do well too. I don't know if Shaman was in that list. I know obviously we're talking about it because we sidetracked from Shaman, but I wonder if she was considering Bench Barrier, but it might not matter in that deck. You're just like all gas all the time.
Yeah, you're trying. Yeah, Shaman just in the way, because if it's one of those combos that you can see a mile. It's almost like the Hitmon top combo. Like they can see it coming a mile away. So if you have it out and it's available to take out, they're going to take it out. So,
yep. True.
But I did forget, you mentioned the Muscle Band. It was one of the most hype points in the entire stream whenever we saw the donk coming into fruition. We got the Muscle Band, it's a double donk. It was absolutely amazing to watch that.
Oh yeah, I was hyped at the moment. Right now I've had some time to reflect on it, and I was like, dang, that was good. But in the moment, right.
That was really good though.
I've mellowed since then. when you mentioned grass spread too, it brought me back to like wanting to play my grass spread days. Man, I need that XY promo Celebi to be good. That's all. I love that card so much. Thinking about grass spread. It was
it's
just lived on the back of Jump Bluff.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. I mean, it's a great card to still have out there to spread it while you kind of get set up. And they have to, they has the ancient. Well, is it the ancient trait or just the ability? I think it's just an ability.
It's an ability, but it has an ancient trait, but I think the ancient trait's like worthless. I think it's like the one that maybe stops like status conditions.
Something like that. It's super interesting.
Yeah.
But you can deny a prize with that ability and shuffle stuff back into your deck as well. So kind of conserving resources if and when you flip a heads. Hopefully you flip the heads.
If only spreading one damage counter was good.
We're gonna go ahead and get into some of the statistics in the full grip. Oh, I forgot to change that. That's supposed to be a 3. 3K, not 1K.
We'll get it in editing.
3K. Well, we had 87 players come out for the full grip 3K, and it's going to be 7 rounds and a top 8 cut, which is awesome.
Impressive turnout.
Yeah, top 8 cut was awesome. We had, I know that there was a lot of talk of water, being a part, like never really seeing success, even though it has a strong popularity. And anyways, we ended up having 3 people in top 8 cut that were playing water. And then in the top 4, we had 2. So that was really cool to kind of see water have some success that I didn't realize didn't have success in these big tournaments, being as popular and as strong as it has been. So it is interesting that we always put water on a high pedestal, but sometimes on these bigger tournaments, we don't really see them at the top. And we finally do get to see them at the top. But we got a lot of psychic in this, Jeff. There was 27 psychic. We went from, I think in the first, there's only been 2. In the first one, we had a bunch of colorless, and psychic was tied with what, like, was it something weird like grass or water or something like that?
I think it went in the first one. It was colorless water, and then I think psychic was down there, 3rd or 4th on the run, which is about what you expect it to be, especially in the previous meta that we had all talked about.
And this one, it just shot up. And we kind of think that is, with the effect of some bans that happened that kind of put some other decks on the wayside, and people, being upset about the twin and double colorless, kind of taking some heat away from colorless, taking some heat away from dark, and maybe some of your off-end decks and stuff like that. So, we see colorless with 7 people playing colorless, and that is just insane, because I'm pretty sure there was like 35-ish, give or take 3, playing in the last tournament, maybe even more. That I think there was 127 players in the last tournament, so there was quite a bit of colorless players. And with Journey Together just coming out that last one, there was all the excuses to play colorless. But you see, it being the greatest, and then going down all the way to just 7 people playing it in an 87 player tournament. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Dude, it's crazy. And I think you and I are probably the mindset that colorless is still a pretty strong deck out there. But I think when you think about maybe the time between the two, because these 2 set releases were pretty close together, and the banning obviously happened in between them, it's just like no one maybe figured it out, or it just didn't feel as good as maybe some of these other tried and true decks. So like, Psychic, the main core of what Psychic's been doing has been around basically since GLC's inception. And then the same thing with water here. Like, we're going to see some hydro pump lists that we're just going to be like, yeah, that's pretty stock. That's pretty stock list right there. So like, these decks were tried and true. And, you see dark falling down the list there too, right? I think if you're a player going into this, you're like, man, there's probably going to be a bit of psychic. Maybe dark is a choice, but it just doesn't look like people had found the list in those 2 types that were just suffering so much. I mean, Guzzlord is a shell of itself without access to those double energies. And the same could be said of, Unfazed Fat Snorlax. So it's surprising, but you get where players' mindsets were going into this tournament, and the meta reflects that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what type because we got a colorless in the top 8 that we'll talk about here in a little bit, even in that made it to the finals. But I'd be interested on seeing what type of colorless decks that were brought. Was it Crazy Code? Was it Turbo? Was it just kind of more control style setups? So yeah, I'm very interested in that, but I don't know if we'll ever get that answer. But we see, Dragon, kind of, I think, third most used deck. So it's kind of staying where it usually is, like the last few big tournaments. And the same thing with Water. Usually you're going to see it in the top second, third percentile of like most used deck. And we had quite a bit of different style of Water decks, playing the new Wailord from Journey Together that had 240 HP, which is a big hoss to take care of. And of course, these special whales Wailord. And I think there was a Blaziken that was played, but we didn't get to see it on the stream.
Yeah.
I think it was prized.
So yeah, the Fireless that we saw play on stream was awesome. I mean, let me say that. It had like the Libero Cinderace, which I'm really high on until I got my Fire badge. So I was really excited to see that card make it on stream. I think Blaziken was the option to go with, and that card's really strong. But I think, like you mentioned, I think that maybe like 2 of that line was prized. Fire just had some terrible prizing that game on stream, and it just didn't get its chance to quite recover and get going. I felt kind of bad. Not because I wanted the player to do poorly, but just because I was hyped. I wanted the Fire to do well. I wanted them to prove us wrong that Fire's been a good type, but it just didn't do its thing. And then at the end of the day, it didn't make it to top 8. So Fire, I think, is what we thought it was. Did Rapidash make it any better? I'm still unclear on that, and I think time will tell. And I think with more of these events, we'll see maybe Fire evolve into something that's kind of cool. I think Andrew Mahone said it best on stream. It's like, it's a jack of all trades. It's like, it's not a master of none, and so it's got all these different things that it can do. Really cool designs. The Blaziken design is really cool. The Torchic design is really cool. Macargo is a super powerful card. It's just like, it's like pulled and pushed in so many different directions that, like, where is your synergy coming from? And that's just what it feels like it's missing, like a connectiveness. Really strong, individually powered cards that just don't quite fit in a shell that's cohesive.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate for Fire. And I feel like the finding of that is going to be really hard, especially with the amount of players that don't necessarily want to put the time in to play it. Seeing that only 3 people played a Fire list. But what's most surprising is that one person played Metal. One person.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I'm not going to be the person to play Metal at a big tournament. And that's kind of what you'll see whenever you're going to a 3K. You're going to see the good decks for the most part. You're going to see the best types, the best decks out in the field being played. You're not going to necessarily see, as much as you want to take your fun deck, a lot of the time it's not going to do as well. Now, not to say that it's bad to go take your fun deck or people don't do it, but most of the time, statistically, you're not going to see that specific deck do well at a giant tournament that is, putting forth quite a bit of money. So that's kind of where you sit. That when we have regionals and stuff like that, you get to see a lot of different play styles and different typings. But whenever there's like thousands of dollars on the line, you're going to see more of the cream of the crop come out on top.
For sure. And again, it's reflected in the meta, right? Everyone thought that Psychic was going to be the best deck in this tournament. Everyone thought that Colors was going to be the best deck in the last tournament. That's where everyone's going. Everyone has dreams of winning that $3,000. And it wasn't actually $3,000, but they had a chance of winning the top prize. And then, but there's still going to be players. And this is what I love about Gym Leader Challenge, because I would be with these people too. Like, this Metal player is playing their favorite deck. That Fire player was playing their favorite deck, right? Like, you're still going to have those people show up. And that's the dream for me. Winning a huge tournament with a deck that you've put your heart and soul into and that you love. And that might be the best deck in the format, but it also might be a Fire deck with Cinderace in it. And that's what I want to see. That's who I want to see win. more than anything.
It might be fairy.
No, it won't be. Sorry, guys. I like y'all. I like all my fairy players out there. I'm one of y'all, but it won't be. It won't be fairy.
It won't be fairy, he said. All right, you guys come out to the next one. Fairy players unite. We're gonna see that top played. One of them has to win out, right?
Yeah. And hey, in the comments, let us know if you were going to a full group games 1K, 3K, whatever it might be. Are you someone who's going to play the best deck in the format? Or are you going to be someone who's just playing and ripping your favorite deck? Because Josh, what are you? What are you with?
My favorite deck is the Tankin Hill Special Wells Water.
Oh, best
the
deck in the
Tag
format.
Team Titans.
Yeah.
I know, so it's like it's up there.
Yeah,
thank goodness it's one of my favorites.
There you go. All right. It's a cop-out answer, Josh, but I'll allow it.
Hey, I mean, when it first started, it wasn't the best. So whenever it became one of the better, I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I love this.
Then Reversal Energy got printed and Lux Cape.
Yeah, all those, man. I remember when those came out, I was like, oh, this is great. But then it just came better. So it had more of a target on its back. So I was like, okay, how can I build this deck to withstand targets being pointed at it? So it just kind of made me a little better deck builder for that specific one. I've been kind of, I'm getting excited about grass right now because I'm trying to really work on this Jump Bluff spread grass deck, especially with, Hisui and Lilligant being out because of double colorless and twin being out. So kind of made some of those cards a little bit worse. Like the Sigui that hits the 80 to active and 80 on the bench. It kind of makes that a little bit worse because you could just put one of those double energies, but now you can't.
Have we talked about, Josh, about you trying colorless spread?
No.
Have you ever played colorless spread before?
I have not.
Okay. Colorless spread is what grass spread wishes it was. So
really?
Yeah. Cause I remember playing grass spread. You know me, I've played grass spread forever. I think my first YouTube video was a grass spread list. It was either Crobat or a grass spread list. So I've been playing that list for forever. And I was like, it's not good because you're so reliant on, the Celebi setting up early so you can get those damage counters in early or fast hot hit into Jump Bluff. So it felt really like, one side or the other. It was very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Extreme. Like the deck was very extreme. But colorless spread's just I get to play good cards. I got a great draw engine to get me the cards I need to. I've only got one early efficient spreader, but I can play Ditto, which copies a basic attack and just do that. It's like everything that grass spread wanted to do. Torterra is your big hitter in grass spread deck. You just get Unfazed Fat Snorlax. It's a basic. It doesn't, not even stage 2. It's just so much better. So try out colorless spread for me and you'll be like, man, what was I doing with grass spread all along? And you'll have fun doing it.
I'll be so sad. But yeah, we got the top 8 here. Top 8: Brooke English, Spencer, Otto, Austin, Ashton, Trevor, Chucky, and Lion. And we had 4 undefeated people going into top 8, and that is I don't know how common that is, but it feels to me like it's slightly uncommon to have 4 undefeated people going into at least a gym leader talent challenge tournament into the top 8 out of 87 players. So that is really cool to see.
Yeah, we see, obviously we see some draws here happening. Obviously some of the top players got together and were like, hey, mathematically we're fine. We saw that kind of bite someone in the butt last tournament where someone took a draw and then ended up kind of bubbling out, which was unfortunate. But here we see all of that going good for these players. 5-2 was good enough to get in the top 8 last time, if I'm not mistaken. And here we see Holtz at 9 here with that 5-2, and Fran, another full grip games legend, right there at the 10 spot, just kind of bubbling out of top 8. So just kind of different statistics this time around. I mean, we had some dominant play from these players in the top 8, and it's really showing in their records. And we'll watch that stream back because those were some really good matches in the top 8. Fun watches, smart plays, upper level thinking plays too. Just great to watch all around.
Yeah, and it seems like if you did really well and you had one draw, it looks like you were going to make top 8 if if you did really well and had at least one draw. And yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But going into our first deck, we're going to go over the runner-up first. We got Lion Chen with his colorless control deck with an aggro version of Ursaluna Control. Jeff, I know you love this deck, and you explain it so much better than I. So give us a lowdown on, kind of what Lion's game plan is going into this style of deck.
Yeah, so this deck is a deck that I really enjoy. I'm not the biggest control player in the world, but this is definitely a control deck that I am interested in playing because there is a route to taking all 6 prizes. So you have like control of the game, but the deck starts and stops with Ursaluna. And we're not talking about Blood Moon Ursaluna. We're talking about just good old Ursaluna, who's got really, really good attacks. Like both of them are amazing. So Pete Hunt is just 1 colorless energy. You get to put a card, 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. Obviously these control lists want to recycle certain pieces, whether it's to build towards a certain win con or to stall an opponent. So Pete Hunt is just amazing, and if you're playing this deck, you're going to be announcing that attack a lot. And then the second attack is Bulky Bump, which is 3 colors energy. It does 200 damage, and you get to discard 2 energy from this Pokemon, which in this deck you'll always just be discarding 1 energy card for that second attack. Because you're playing triple acceleration energy. And so there's a loop where you can Pete Hunt back triple acceleration energy and like a heal card. And you can heal and attack every loop to take 6 prizes. But it's about getting to that kind of in-game loop. And again, that's just one of the routes you can take. There's like a Bunnelby mill out plan too. You see the Bunnelby here with the barrage ability that lets it attack twice. One of its attacks is to mill your opponent, and then the other one is to shuffle a card from your discard pile back into your deck. So you can use this to get cards back, and you can also use it as a win con to mill out your opponent as well. And then, you've got good draw engines. You've got the Oranguru that switches the top card with a card in your hand. You got Make Do Cinchino, which is a trade ability, discard 1, draw 2. Airmail Pidgeotto, which does the same thing as, what's that new card that everyone's playing? The Jerkloak. And then, of course, you've got, Delcatty to recycle supporters from your discard pile. And then, just lots of other things that you can do. And you said Turbo, Josh. And so this build is a little different than the build that I'm accustomed to. The build that I used to play really struggled into hand disruption, just because you wanted to build big hands and have these combo pieces. And what Lion has really done to kind of streamline this process is he's like, man, if you've got Bunnelby and you've got Ursaluna, why not just play cards out of your discard pile? So he's playing cards like Hapu and Explorer's Guidance to just kind of self-mill until his deck is kind of small enough that he can just kind of pick and choose the pieces that he wants and kind of get them back whenever he needs to. You can't hand disrupt what's on the board, and you can't hand disrupt what's in the discard pile. So why not just use my discard pile as a resource and use it to win me the game? And so that's what this deck is really doing different than a lot of other control lists, or at least a lot of other Ursaluna lists that had come before it. And the last thing I'll say, Josh, before I pass it over to you, is I really love the Ditto that's put in this list, the Transform Ditto. Basically, what this Ditto does is you can play it, and then you can put a basic on top of it that acts like it's already been in play. So the Ditto can act as hey, I need to Teddy Ursa into Ursaluna in one go. Well, you just play the Ditto, and then you wait, put the Teddy Ursa on top of it. You can rare candy immediately and get into kind of your Ursaluna loop if you need to, and kind of a sneaky fashion. That is cool.
I think that's, I definitely think that's pretty cool, what you just mentioned at the very end there. But to kind of give it even more of that turbo feel, we got Trekking Shoes, we got Acrobike as well, to be able to kind of see a card, discard it, see another card. So with those 2 cards, item cards right there, we're already seeing 4 extra cards on top of, the Expedition, the Clay, the Hapu, and those style of cards to be able to just self-mill, just get through the deck really quickly so you can get to the bottom and then create your big loop. But I remember seeing in the finals match, Lion gets to that, the end there, and then I guess at one point forgets to kind of get like a pal pad out of the discard pile, and now we're in trouble and not able to maintain the loop, and it just kind of cost him the game. And then over the course of the next few, the next game, then that mistake losing him that game kind of messed up the gameplay going into the next one for him. So it was a shame to kind of see the end of how that worked out, because we all want both players being peak and being able to play to the best of their ability. It's always kind of like a shame whenever you see a misplay to that caliber happen, and it happens. I mean, it happens on the big stage all the time. People making mistakes, and the best thing that we can do from there is to just learn from that. So I don't think Lon is going to forget to put Pal Pad back in whenever he's trying to keep all the loop happening towards the end of the deck, and usually it's the most important peak hunts is when you're, at the bottom of your deck.
Yeah, for sure. Because again, this deck is turboing out. So if you do make that mistake, like you mentioned, like you're in danger of decking out, and he had to make maybe, obviously optimal in the moment, but suboptimal plays because he forgot to do that one thing. And like it did end up costing him, unfortunately, because the way that the tiebreaker rules had worked, it was whoever took the next prize, and his deck was not taking the next prize, I don't think, to get to that win, which let our champion end up winning. But kudos to Lion. I mean, you talk about what he had to do over the course of the weekend, right? Like he had, the 7 Swiss rounds, obviously drew one of them. And then he had, 3 matches in top 8 semifinals, finals, where he's playing probably the most thought-provoking deck that we've seen in this format, or at least on the weekend we saw on stream. And man, he made a lot of right plays. It's just that one bad one that we're going to remember.
Yeah, and both of these players that are in finals, wholeheartedly deserve to be there because of the run that they had. So even though you see those type of mistakes, regardless, those players definitely deserve to be there at the top for them making that run all day long. There's several rounds of Gym Leader Challenge. I know that you feel the same way, Jeff. Several rounds can just drive you mad, drive you crazy, make you want a cookie of sorts.
Oh, yeah. I'm all about that cookie life. But I will say, like, if you're looking for, like, the clinic on how to play this deck, go back and watch the top 8 games, because Lion's in 2 of them. He gets paired up against Brooke, which this deck had an amazing win rate against Psychic on the weekend, it felt like. We saw Lion just kind of, like, roll over Brooke in the top 8 match. We'll see her list a little bit later. And one of the things about this deck that made it such an amazing meta call is that the Ursaluna 180 HP, even without the Luxurious Cape boosting it up, is just such a difficult number for Psychic to hit. Iron Boulder hits 170, Gallade hits 160. So if you can get the Ursaluna going and you can get that heal loop going, even without your HP buff tool, I mean, this deck is already hard for them to deal with. So I think that this was just a really smart call. DCE Twin just got banned, and Ursaluna's worst matchup were these really super uber aggressive decks. And without those, colorless or dark in the format, Lion just made an amazing call, had a ton of reps with his deck, and just, again, put on a performance to make it all the way to the finals. Left with a good payday, but not the biggest payday, Josh.
Oh, man. Yeah, which brings us to our champion, Chuggy Davis. Playing one of the most not easiest decks to play, but very simple, because Hydro Pump Water has been a deck that's been, was probably at the forefront of the GLC format. It has just changed a little bit over time with the, Baxcalibur, Kyogre, and just some cards like that, especially with this new card that just came out, the Journey Together Wailord with its 240 HP. So rather standard Hydro Pump list here. Some things that kind of pop out to me is, I don't know how many Hydro Pump lists play Silent Lab, but we see some play Silent Lab, some don't play Silent Lab, and it really helps whenever you have Silent Lab and you play Kyogre at the same time, which gives you the ability to snipe anything on the bench as well. But granted, there are 2, now 3 decks with bench barrier, really. So sometimes it's like, do I really need that? Because it's not a spread deck per se. It's more of a Hydro Pump, big damage to the active with the occasional snipe. So I can kind of see that. But whenever you're looking at this list, Jeff, what kind of things pop out to you, even though it's a little bit more standard?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you were to be like, what's the standard Hydro Pump list? Like, I'd almost say like this exact 60. There's a couple cards that, like, people are on the fence about playing. Arven can sometimes be a card that people don't see in Hydro Pump Water, just because often you don't see tools getting played. With the Journey Together Wailord, Chucky obviously opted for, like, I'm going to get my bulk out there, do big, bulky things. So Lux Cape, Pot Helmet come in, and those cards make Arven much better. You look down, energy search cards, you got Capacious Bucket, Professor's Letter, Arven helps you there too, so, like, just really great. And then, like, kind of the cool tech was Acerola here. Your Wailord is going to be tanking hits. There's few and far between cards that are going to be able to take care of a Wailord in one hit. So if you have a Rain Dancer established, like Baxcalibur or Frostmoth, you're able to Acerola up that damaged Wailord, plop back down the Wailmore, attach that energy somewhere else, take a KO, and you can just reestablish that Wailord again in the latter turns of the game. Like, you can really just kind of like deny some prizes and maybe come back from a slow start, or maybe even just push forward more. So Acerola is really cool. Obviously, these lists had already been playing Scoop Up Net, so you have 2 really good options there to kind of deny some prizes. Those are kind of the things that stand out to me when I look at this list. The 2 other things, Josh, I'll say, and I'll ship it back to you. Colress still making an appearance in the list. I mean, we saw a good number of Dragon lists. There's no bench bearer in this list. Are you worried about the Kyurem? That's something that you might consider kind of swapping out if that's just in the back of your brain. And then Arezu. Arezu is such a, I don't know. It's just like a card that I don't see, but a lot of other people really enjoy playing it. And if it does have a home, it is going to be in Hydro Pump Water. It gets you 3 evolution Pokemon. And when you have Drizzile and Inteleon, like those sorts of cards, Arezu really just turns into like a super good card. So I see it more and more. I'm probably not going to play it in my list, but obviously Chucky won a 3K with it. He's more right than I am. So listen to Chucky, copy his list. Don't listen to some guy who dipped out of a top 4 to go get a cookie one time.
Yeah, definitely a proven list for sure. But to kind of bring you back, you mentioned Acerola earlier. I am both a fan and not a fan of Acerola myself. And mainly it's because it's like personal bias. Anytime I play Acerola, I always end up not using it, or like not being in just not having the ability to use it to its fullest potential. So I'll use it to definitely heal, pseudo heal a card, bring it back to hand, get all the stuff back to hand. But then usually I end up being stuck in the active. I usually end up not having my Rain Dancer or anything like that. So it usually has some bad blood for me. But anytime I see my opponent using Acerola, boy howdy, it is always doing exactly what it needs to do. Never stuck. Always able to get anything that they need to get done. And I'm happy for them. So Acerola, I think, is always a good choice, especially in more of a Rain Dance style deck or some type of loop control deck. So I do enjoy the Acerola.
Yeah, apologies to everyone there. As my Discord notifications are going off, people are chatting in my local group, and since that's like the one group I don't have the notifications turned off for. There's a couple of things.
We didn't
my
hear
bad,
it, man.
My bad. You heard it. You didn't hear it. Everyone else did.
Oh, did they?
And there's another one. My bad. I'm trying to get it sorted out.
Sweet beans, guys. Hey, don't worry about it. That being said, it brings us to third place. We got, look at that. We got third place. We got Ashton Waite. I hope that's how you say that last name. I see that E, and I really want to see Waitey. That's how I want to say it, but I'm pretty sure that's not. I'm pretty sure it's just Wait. But we got Psychic, and something that we've seen in these Psychic decks, and more of a recent include into these decks, have been. I know Iron Boulder has been one, and then people are always trying to I don't want to say make Monkey Dory work, but we see Monkey Dory in a lot of Psychic lists nowadays. So Iron Boulder and Monkey Dory are really becoming mainstays in a lot of Psychic decks nowadays. And Iron Boulder has the attack. I can't remember the name, but it's Psychic and a colorless. Hits for 170 if both you and your opponent have the same hand size. So it's a low maintenance attacker, especially if you have access to Dimension Valley on the turn that you're using it. But it's a very low maintenance attacker and hits big for 170 damage. And I can see the appeal in this specific card, but matching hand size sometimes is a really tall order to ask every turn. But then again, if you're able to do it 1, 2, maybe even 3 turns, I think it might be doing the job that it is supposed to be doing, especially in this specific list where we have Articuno with that random snipe at any moment. You can use that. And a lot of the time, I don't see a Clara in this list, but we do have Tulip. A lot of the time, I like to see a Clara with a Galarian Articuno. Granted, this isn't my list. This is Ashton's list. But it's always great to be able to recur or have those cards that have the ability to do, like Tulip does that thing, but also Clara. So sometimes that redundancy helps us be able to get and do that a little bit extra. But we got Mewtwo, which hits 180 if your opponent has taken 3 prizes. So we got the big wall breaker there as well. But sometimes, every now and then with these Psychic lists, you'll see Dusknoir. Now, Dusknoir has the ability to knock itself out. Your opponent takes a prize, but you get to put 13 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it's just one of those like pseudo attackers to where you can, get an extra knockout in a turn, or maybe just take out an important supporter card, a support Pokemon that your opponent has on the field. But yeah, I think this list right here is pretty clean. It's just that, Iron Boulder is just one of those cards that when it does its job, it does its job. And I think that's the appeal, is sometimes you're just able to do that at least 1 to 2, maybe 3 turns. Yeah. Maybe even more than that.
I mean, again, I'll call back to what Mr. Tricky Jim, Andrew Mahone, said on stream. It's like the mini game within the game. So, if you like to do those sorts of things, I get Iron Boulder. Conditional attackers are always tough for me. I'm glad that Iron Boulder is taken off. It's just not a card that I would really, really, really want to play. But obviously, there are a ton of lists out there that are doing amazing work with it. And it's just such a powerful card because 170 for 2 is busted, let's be honest. And then Mewtwo is just a really good card too in that latter stage of the game that we keep talking about, after 3 prizes too. So you have some really good basic attackers in this list, powering them up with Xatu and Malamar. So you get why Iron Boulder makes its way into this list when you pair it with those other things that you have going on, especially when you have Recycle Energy that you can just keep popping back to your head and basically synergizes with every single attacker that you have in this list. 1 Xatu, 1 Malamar attachment, plus a Recycle Energy that pop back to hand, and you're cooking with almost any single mon that you have. One of the things that I do find a little bit interesting about maybe kind of a lot of these lists, a lot of lists, because it seems like they weren't expecting your Wailord, Josh, the special Waves Wailord, opted to drop counter energy. So the way to get that copycat attack online for the special Waves Wailord was a little bit, less likely to happen. Basically, you had Recycle Energy as your only out to copy that attack in these lists. So the new Wailord has kind of caused these Psychic decks to pivot. And I think that that's a neat meta change to at least acknowledge as we look at this list. When you look at other things that Ashton's list is trying to do, you notice the inclusion of Red Card. And when we talked to Ben after the last 1K, he was mentioning how powerful it is to like counter catcher and hand disrupt. Well, this is the opposite line we're seeing in this deck, where we have red card, which is hand disruption, and then if you can pair that with, Guzma or a Hex or something like that, it can be really powerful too. So red card, super powerful card. Is it maybe a callback to Marshadow? Our friend Let Loose Marshadow is red card and include just to kind of fill that gap? Maybe, but I do like its inclusion here, and obviously Ashton did amazing to get third place.
Yeah, I'd like to think this red card is actually Marshadow incarnate.
Dude, what I'll say is this, man. One of the things that I noticed more than anything over the weekend was how much slower Psychic decks are at just like getting going. And maybe it's always been the case that Psychic has been kind of a slower deck that's like had to get established and kind of, solidify itself before it could really get on the attack. But man, back in the day, you just got to slow down your opponent with like one quick ball or one fog crystal. So like these decks, I think that's one of the things I saw from Brooke's top 8 match is she just kind of had like a slow start out of the gate. And it's just, there's no good starting Pokemon really for Psychic out there. We're going to see Mysterious Tail Mew pop up in her list, which is kind of like, it's like, it's fine. But like, it feels like Psychic was a little slow to get going and other decks were maybe just a little bit better at it. So even though I still feel like Psychic is, still the maybe top dog, if 27 people thought the same thing too, it just felt like some other decks had better things going for it in the early game, and that maybe kept Psychic out of the winner circle. Just some thoughts.
Yeah, I think actually, the fastest deck isn't even really super, super fast. It feels like everything is like a lot slower now and kind of balanced out in the beginning, unless if you get like just an absolutely incredible hand.
Yeah.
If you get an incredible hand, your deck can be as fast as the Wild West. But a lot of the time, like I've noticed Psychic just playing against it a lot lately, it just feels like it's, a little bit slower before, and it's not slowing anything down. Like you said before, with Marshadow, with a quick ball or a fog crystal or any of the ball cards. But I see a couple cards, you don't normally see in Psychic so much. Bird Keeper being one of them. Bird Keeper is one of those, utilitarian cards that are just really good in any deck. You can put them in any deck and it's not going to be bad. It's a good switch out. So it can switch you out and it draws you 3 cards. So any type of card that you have that has a draw 3 and something, it just kind of feels a little bit better. Like Avery, draw 3 cards, your opponent discards cards off their bench until they have 3 on the bench. It's kind of like a Parallel City. But another card in here to get a little bit more of a supporter recursion, we have Cynthia and Caitlin. And that is the only tag team card that we see in this deck. So we know that it's important, in Ashton's mind to be able to get supporters back, because we do see VS Seeker. And do we see Palpad at all? I don't think we see Palpad, but Cynthia and Caitlin is also another one of those that you discard 1 card, but it lets you draw another 3 cards. So I see Ashton kind of putting a, not a pedestal, but just showing the importance of cards that have an effect, but it also draw 3 to, to keep that consistency throughout their plays. And I think it really helped out this weekend.
Yeah. Draw 3 plus effect is busted. Like, I love it, love it, love it. It is, but you bring up the Sin Lin point. Obviously it's very rare for us to see Cynthia and Caitlin get played without one of the other powerful tag team cards, mainly Guzma Hala, right? And then you think about some of the other options too, like, would Lusamine have been a good call? I mean, you're playing Dimension Valley. Lusamine can do a similar thing. It's not drawing you cards, but it could get you back Dimension Valley, which is effectively a colorless energy when you think about it, and another supporter potentially. So, that's like a card that like you could see like, what was Ashton valuing more than anything? And it seems like drawing cards and just having kind of a full grip of cards to be able to kind of pick and choose what they needed in the moment to be able to obviously stall out their opponents, find an attack, find an attachment for Xatu to draw more cards even. Who knows? But I like the inclusion of Sinlin and obviously Avery, Birdkeeper, just two of my favorite cards as well. Back to your point about, Psychic being slower. I know we've been talking about Psychic being slower, and the more I'm thinking about it now, we do this live, by the way, people. None of this is pre-scripted and recorded, but, thinking about this now, like, what does make Psychic different than like the other setup decks in the format? Because, here we have Hydro Pump Wailord decks just, doing their thing, but they're not starting out the gates any faster. I think it's the pop-off turn, Josh. Like, what does Psychic's pop-off turn look like? Like, oh no, I've got Kirlia in play on turn 2. I get to discard 1 and draw 2. Like, that doesn't put fear into anyone's boots, Like, Irida on turn 2 after you've drizzled to rare candy into your, Rain Dancer, plus you've established, your draw up to 5 card, and all of a sudden you've got a Kyogre sniping your bench. Like, that is scary. So I think maybe that's the separation between what Psychic is doing. It just doesn't have like an explosive turn. Like, maybe Galarian Articuno coming down early can be scary, but even then that's a ton of resources. So it's just like, I don't know. I think that's what it is for me. It's like, what is Psychic's pop-off doing? And I don't think that this list or a lot of Psychic lists out there have pop-off going for them.
I think one that you could have on this is D-Valley Iron Boulder and your opponent and your hand sizes match.
I mean, even then it's
you hit 170.
Like, now it's like you got a hand-sized match me next turn too. Like, at this point, I'm kind of like not that scared about it. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna play out all my cards in my hand next turn, or like, who knows? Who knows what you can do? But like the Iron Boulder is not scary. The Galarian Articuno discards all its energy. Wobbuffet, we saw Wobbuffet over the weekend doing 10 damage. I'm going to do 10 to you. I'm going to do 10 to you. It's like poking at you. So it can be scary in the late game, is what I'll say. But I think that that's what kind of separated it from me from the other list this weekend, is it just isn't going out of the gates. It can, but it's just not often that you're going to see it doing that and then be able to continue doing those same things early.
Yeah. I can see the pop off not being, there's not like a huge pop off like you mentioned. So there's a will. If there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
100% though.
I still I still think Psychic's the best deck, and if there was a deck that I was going to take to try to win, I would bring Psychic. So kudos to Ashton for thinking the same thing. And doing well. Again, third place. And hey, $350. I mean, that's not
good
nothing.
Stuff. That's good stuff. That's like a nice, really nice leather jacket on Seinfeld.
Mm-hmm. It's like half a couch.
Anyways, we got fourth place. We got Trevor Redding back again. I believe Trevor did he get to finals last one or like close?
Yeah, I think
it was Trevor and Ben.
It was Trevor and Ben in the finals playing colorless. And so, hey, we saw Ben was playing Psychic, which one of the better decks, and we see Trevor choosing Water, one of the better decks. Looks like Water was the right choice.
Yep. And, Ben wasn't able to get set up on his stream game against Trevor. And Trevor, speaking of pop-offs, got pop-offs really quick. And Ben, unfortunately, kind of got steamrolled.
Yeah.
It was very unfortunate to watch. I was like, oh, no.
I mean, I hate to see it happen to Ben, but it did prove my point. Go back and watch that stream episode if you're looking for pop-off. Water's where the pop-off's at.
Yeah, but Water was like really doing well today. I don't know what it was about it. It could be the pop-off, could just be the consistency whenever all other decks are kind of like trying to find their spots and find their places. And Water has like virtually been unchanged for so long. I think that that just really kind of helped Water, get a little bit better in this specific tournament. But again, we got Hydro Pump with a new Journey Together whale and, a couple different things. And I'll let you talk about the Green's Exploration, but we see Trevor right here putting in 3 separate ways to be able to find energy in this deck. And, if he wanted to put In another one, we could have put Sonya into the deck as well to get, a third way to get basic energy out of the deck. I'm not sure if you thought about that, Trevor, but if you did, that's awesome. But we see Silent Lab being in this specific version of Hydro Pump, most likely for the Kyogre plays, being able to just make sure that you're going to be able to get those off. And you probably should have played Silent Lab going into this tournament if you thought Psychic was going to be one of the better decks or one of the more show out decks of the day, in which we saw Psychic being able to, have so many different players, and Psychic does have access to one of those bench barriers. So I think that was definitely a good play going into this. But other than that, this is just one of your again, standard Hydro Pump list. And everybody, it's really hard nowadays to make your Hydro Pump list, stand out or be different, because it's just such a good deck that's been played for so many years at this point, that it's just, it's been refined to be the Hydro Pump list.
Yeah. I mean, we all know how to play it. We all know how to play against it, right? And that's what I think it had going against it going into this, is that since day one, when you and a buddy were probably getting your decks together and someone's like, hey, what 2 decks should I play? Someone's like, yeah, start with grass and then probably play water second. So your first battle box was probably water versus grass, which is actually a pretty fun matchup. But, you mentioned the Silent Lab, Josh. And if you are metagaming this tournament and you're thinking, man, Psychic's going to be top dog, and what really wrecks what my deck is trying to do? Wobbuffet in the active. Well, you know what shuts off Wob? Silent Lab. You know what doesn't shut off any of my abilities? Silent Lab. So Silent Lab lets you get around Wobbuffet while simultaneously using your evolution ability like Drizzile and Baxcalibur and all these other things. So you don't see Hex getting played in this list. I don't see Hex anywhere up here on the screen. Silent Lab is that card that Trevor's just thinking on that other level, man. If I'm going to see a lot of Wobbuffet, this is how I'm going to tech against it. And that's just next level thinking. And then again, Wobbuffet's in play. Green's Exploration is a card that's going to be online. It's a great flexible setup card early in water. It lets you get things like Buddy Poffin or one of the other balls to let you get set up. And then now Wobbuffet's in play. Green's Exploration lets you go and get Silent Lab, so you get access to your abilities again. So I just think that Green's Exploration is an amazing card in this list. It's so good. It's so powerful. Obviously, on the day, I don't know how it was played or if it was used in the scenarios that I'm mentioning, but I can just see it getting used in that way. And that just really, really gets me excited when you see great players making good calls that get paid off. And that's what we see from Trevor here. Besides
that's a great point on that Green's Exploration. I didn't even think about that. That was a great point on that.
Hey, what can I say? I had a couple good points last pod. I got a couple good points this pod. I mean, they come in bursts, Another thing, you mentioned the 3 ways to search energy from the deck. Man, this deck's got a lot of cool ways to recover energy too. Energy Retrieval gets you 2 back. Superior Energy Retrieval gets you 4 back. Night Stretcher gets you 1 or basic. And then you got Nessa plus VS Seeker. I don't see any POW pad here, but the VS Seeker probably worth it by itself. I mean, this deck is all about, streamlining those attackers, getting that energy back, reloading them, and doing the thing. So it's cool to see. Again, it's cool to see Hydro Pump doing well. I know some people were kind of down on it. I've been kind of on it for a bit. I didn't know if it would do what it could. And here it is. It did, Josh. It did.
It done did. But, you mentioned no Hex Maniac in this picture. I hadn't even noticed that either. And I used to not play Hex Maniac, but, it just became such a staple and such a good card because there's so many different great Pokemon in the format, old and new, that have incredible abilities. Hex Maniac is kind of crazy not to play it. And that used to be me, where I was not playing Hex Maniac just because I didn't see the importance of it. But now, seeing the importance of it, I can't not play it. But I think in this specific deck for Trevor, I think that metagaming in this situation was the good call. And maybe Hex Maniac was Green's Exploration was Hex Maniac in this case. I'm not sure, but I think, every call they made in this specific deck was actually probably, really good. It just didn't get to see, the finals match.
Yeah. And we're starting to get kind of a vibe, off of these two tournaments. Trevor is known in the online community as Tankman, used to play a ton of things back in the day. And you look at, what his list have done. When we saw his colorless list, he was like, I'm going to play the double. I'm going to play Hops double. No one else is playing the double, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to play Pelipper. Like, he's playing these really interesting cards in his list for specific reasons, and like, if you're looking for a player that's maybe not going to, build a brand new deck, but is going to tweak what they already have, which is already proven to fit the metagame they expect, man, Trevor is the player to do it. And you can just see that from these lists, man. It is so good to see.
Yep. Good job, Trevor. Going into fifth place, we have Spencer also back this time around. I believe last time he got top 4. Fourth place, but this time a little bit worse. Only one place, but still incredible to make back-to-back along with the others in top 8. But we see bringing back the Dragons. And I remember when Dragons got announced to be back in Evolving Skies, that was really cool. And now we see Dragon, doing decent and really well in GLC now with new cards such as Raging Bolt. And, just those different ones and other cards that enable other cards to be good. But we see that Spencer put in a specific card that he was missing in the last tournament that cost him a game, and that is Hisuian Heavy Ball. Now, I'm not sure which card was out and got cut for Hisuian Heavy Ball, but we do know that Hisuian Heavy Ball did make an appearance in this tournament this time around. That way, that would not happen again.
What's kind of hilarious is that the Hisuian Heavy Ball is in the deck, but the card that he needed for the game is out. It's the Kiram. The Kiram's gone. So no Kiram, but the Hisuian Heavy Ball is in. So that's an interesting cut. We were just talking about Colress and Water too. I wonder if at any moment Spencer was like, I wish I had put Kiram back in my deck.
Yeah, especially with, I think all 3 Water decks did not play Manaphy, and I think they all played Colress. I'm not sure. We'll have to look at the one from Auto coming up, but I'm pretty sure both the other Water decks did play Colress, right?
Yeah, definitely the first one did. Oh, let's just go scroll back. I do see a Colress in Trevor's list as well.
Yep.
Not scared. It was actually against Trevor that Spencer wanted the Kiram. So obviously Trevor unfazed by the thought of a Kiram showing up
straight up. That's awesome. Playing Water with no Manaphy and Chorus in a Dragon, not Dragon dominated, but in a format or meta now where Dragon is definitely has the ability to show up at any time.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that I don't play Chorus, but also don't play Manaphy too much unless if I plan on hitting spread deck after spread deck after spread deck.
Yeah, you don't play in my meta, I'll tell you that. Yeah, I mean, like, what is there to say? We talked about Spencer's list last time out. Few basic Dragon Pokemon. You've got Regidrago and Tatsugiri basically as your consistency engines for the deck. You've got like 2 draw cards, if you might call Mela a draw card too. So we'll call it 3 between Avery, Marnie, and Mela here. It's just real precise search is what this deck is looking for. You got discard outlets, lots of ways to attach extra energy. If you're going to tune into the Tricky Gym stream or the VOD or whatever he's putting out there, if you watch round 1, Spencer just puts on a clinic, dude, against Psychic. I think it was JD from Full Grip Games that was playing against him on the other side of the table. And you just see Spencer has everything he needs at exactly the moment that he needs it. And he is just decimating Psychic's board. I think at one point the bench barrier gets like put on the bench and it's just like, oh, cool, here's Silent Lab plus Raging Bolt, and it's all these things that just like, you're just like, wow, I would not expect Dragon to be this consistent or this list to be able to find the things that it does. But I mean, between Tatsugiri, Trainer's Mail, Pokegear, you've got draw cards like Bicycle, all this search. You got Peony that can get you the exact 2 cards, Arven, Volkner, Guzmahala can get you a combo going. It's just so, again, I keep using the word precise. It's so precise about what it wants to grab and what it wants to do. And again, really the consistency comes from the fact that, like, you're playing basics. You don't have any room for evolution ball search. You don't need the room for evolution lines. You're just playing, 6 Pokemon, and then the rest are just cards that get you things you need to win the game.
Yeah. And, it's definitely a proven list. Made it to the top 8 2 times in a row, back to back. So definitely a proven list. Even more so now after making it top 8 a second time.
Or could Spencer just be a proven player? But I do think the list is good.
Both, definitely. Next we got Otto. And what is the name that Otto also goes by?
Otto is often playing in the Twin Leaf tournaments that I used to run. We'll probably get back to running them. And Josh, you were a big part of it when we were beta testing. But Last Porg was his name. So if you see that name pop up on any of the online results on Limitless, that's Otto. And Otto has been, I didn't even know this. I just remember playing as Last Porg a lot on Twin Leaf, and it's been this list, and he's been kicking my butt with this list. My spread decks cry in the face of rough seas. So he's been kicking my butt with this deck, and then all of a sudden he shows up in the top 8, and I'm like, man, so proud of him. And I didn't even know I was playing against such a skilled player. I mean, he kicking my butt.
That is pretty cool. And what's even cooler is to see, the tag teams, Titan and Wailord, making its way into a top 8, especially in such a big tournament. It was awesome to see that. Opting to play Swampert over the Octillery. Octillery draws you up to 5, so if you have a big hand, a lot of the time you can't draw the Swampert. You have the discard draw 3, so it gives you the ability to not have such a clunky hand, and you're able to still draw cards even if you have a big hand. But also doubles as a decent attacker. I believe for 3 energy it hits for 140 or 160. I can't remember the exact numbers on it, but 140, 160, has 160 HP, so it's still a pretty, hefty guy to be able to take out as well, on top of Wailord and Titan. And, these guys can hit and knock out pretty much everything in the game for the most part. Sometimes if there's a Lex Cape involved, it's going to be a lot harder to knock it out, or just some random thing that your opponent has in their deck for an HP modification. But the majority, 99% of the time, you're going to knock out anything you're attacking with one of these big guys. But you also see often for Hisuian Basculin over Alolan Vulpix. I'm a big fan of Alolan Vulpix, but Basculin has been trending as well, and you're able to use that with Hisuian Basculegion, which has the Grudge Dive attack. It's basically a revenge attack for 1 energy. You're hitting for, I believe, 120, like 30 plus 90, something of that sort. But also you see the bling that Otto shows that he loves this Whales deck. And I feel the same exact way about the Whales deck that I've been playing for so many years as well. That, this is the deck, and I'm going to bling it out as much as I can. But we got Brooklet Hill. Brooklet Hill is just one of those consistency cards in water decks, fighting decks, that allows you to be able to get more basics out of your deck as quickly as possible, kind of putting into that consistency. And on top of that, you have Lost City to Lost City, some other Pokemon that might kind of prove to kind of give you trouble, such as Copycat Mimikyu, the Zoroark that has the Copycat attack as well. You kind of want to get rid of those guys so those guys don't come back and wreck your life again. So I do see, I used to be the biggest hater, and I'll bet this has been on my mind lately. Lost City. I used to be one of the biggest haters of Lost City, because I'm like, man, this just takes away all playability. But not everybody's playing Lost City, and it does keep other decks in check. And I put it in my deck as just a way to make just do really well with it, and hopefully other people will hate it. But I've grown to actually like it, and it makes me want to throw up. But it's good. But yeah, this is I really enjoy this deck. I just love seeing this style of water do well in big tournaments.
Yeah, shame on you, Josh. Shame. Where are your principles,
I know,
dude? Where are your principles?
bro. My principles. I buried them out back.
Oh man, what are you gonna do for mild success, man? Come on, come on. I'm still a Lost City hater, as you guys can see. This is cool. I love it, man. Blizzard Veil Articuno is just nasty at keeping you set up. Plus, it has a pass back attack where it passes back energy to something on the bench. So doing 70 and passing back is good. I mean, this deck wants to go behind. Like you see from what it's doing, reversal energy, counter energy. You got counter catcher in this list. So it's so weird to see like this tanky deck that's like, yeah, sure, you can take the first prize. And it's just like, cool, I want to pop off from there. And so this list is really cool. I love what it does. It's not usually the first whale that ends the game. It's the second whale that ends the game. So whether that's, Whale Lord's the Titan and then Whale Lord again, but man, it's so easy for these sorts of decks to get, 2 or 3 of the same attacker back in the same turn. Plus this deck utilizes Inteleon so well. Dude, Inteleon with a pot helmet on is a menace, dude. Like 120 and 20 to the bench is kind of busted. And if it survives an attack, it's going again. And then if it's got splash energy on it, they're just going to pop it back. And then in 2 turns, you got Sobble and Drizzile and Inteleon all over again as they're searching out the things. I mean, this deck can do nasty things, and all without a Rain Dance. So this deck is really cool. I think it really benefited from the fact, and we saw it from the Psychic list that Ashton was playing, which wasn't playing counter energy with their Mimikyu. So if you see a ton of Psychic lists in the meta, I would be like, uh-oh. But it just seems like they weren't prepped for this whale. They were all worried about the other whale. And so this whale just doesn't care about anything else in those Psychic lists besides Mimikyu. So it's interesting to see that maybe Otto, I don't want to say that he did well just because of that, but I'm wondering how many times his whale got Mimikyu KO'd, or if it's a Titan, because the same thing would affect the Titan as well with a special energy requirement. So just a thought that I'm having about those things, but obviously this list did really good work on the weekend, and I love it.
Oh, I see a professor's letter. Never mind. I was going to say I don't see any energy search like Capacious Bucket or professor's letter, but we do see professor's letter.
Got Guzma Hollow right here, man. That's all you need. All you need in this deck.
Yeah, that too, 100%. I'm wondering if one of the basic energies, we just didn't have another one of those energies, or if this was a last minute cut that happened, Yeah. I'm not sure.
Or if it's, oftentimes people, when they're testing, because I've seen people do like a 4-4 split or add an extra energy here and there. I'm wondering if the basic energy is different because they were considering that as like a swap for a different card. And so sometimes you'll have a basic energy that's just a different look than the other ones, to be like, if I draw this card, it would be this other card. Would it be better in this moment? It's just kind of like one of those testing strategies that people use. So I'm wondering if that's what it is, or like you said, it might just be they have one of those cool energy, throw them in your deck. Craig in chat is telling us Otto didn't play Psychic all day, which is amazing when you think about it. If that is, that's just amazing, because that's like like the worst matchup for a Wailord deck is the Mimikyu. So obviously Otto's super skilled. Like I will vouch for Otto's skill, but getting into top 8, a lot of luck plays into it well about matchups throughout the day. So being able to dodge Psychic, which is arguably, again, the worst matchup for this style of deck, is amazing. So kudos to Otto for good play and good luck.
Yes, congratulations. I love this style of water list, and finding success. The polar opposite to water is lightning, and we see Austin Charles in 7th place with this almost, I'm not sure if it's how close it is exactly to Costaletto's deck that got so far, and I can't remember if it was 6th or 7th place as well in the last full grip 1K. But in this 3K, we see, it making another appearance in the top 8 of the full grip 3K. And it's just one of those decks that, I think it just has decent matchups into everything, especially if you get, good matchups throughout the day and things are going your way in the top deck game, per se. And, 50 damage to everything is pretty good. With Electivire, always for Reggie Ilecki, is always good. 120 to active, 40 damage to 2 things. And just like this deck is always going to do what it wants to do as long as it's able to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So because sometimes Lightning is one of those decks that isn't super consistent on getting things going super fast. And whenever it does, though, 50 to everything and a good spread can do a lot of damage. No pun intended.
Oh yeah. And you're not playing the Raichu in this list, so no collateral damage to play off your pun there. But there is like the one problem with this deck is Psychic, right? And so again, you think of Psychic, Wobbuffet's going to shut down a lot of what this deck is trying to do because Dynamotors and Zebstrika play a big role. But this deck has just outs to like those sorts of things, right? You can Morpeko stall. It's got the Torment attack, which is basically disable. Your opponent can't use an attack, plus do 20. Spark is a decent spread attack. For a colorless and a lightning, it does 50 to the active and then 20 to one of the bench Pokemon. And then the good old Zapdos Electro Power puts Zapdos attack damage up to 110, which is exactly a Wobbuffet number. Now, just like we mentioned with the water deck before too, Silent Lab is in this list. So Silent Lab is going to shut off Wobbuffet and then let you have access to both your Dynamotors and Zebstrika because they're stage 1s. But also you're playing greens in this list too. So like you can get around that, plus tons of counter cards. So like one Goose Hala can get you counter energy and counter gain going. So even without a Dynamotor, you could still technically have an Electivire attack in one turn from nowhere, which is pretty good. So again, Lightning Spread, really, really, really good. I would be interested to see Austin's matchup spread throughout the day because I do typically think of Psychic as being one of the worst matchups for Lightning Spread specifically. But it seems like he did well throughout the day, so kudos to him. Again, this deck can pivot in and out of different things. It's not just all about spread. They can do things, and I love Lightning Spread in general. The one thing that is kind of cool is the new Blitzel is getting played. I can't remember what set this is from, but it's the one that draws you a card and has 70 HP with 1 retreat. So that's kind of cool. I've always seen people play the 60 HP that on a coin flip can give it immunity. So this is cool to see this new Blitzel getting played.
Yep, 100%. But we got 7th place Austin, good job. And then after that, we got Brooke English's Psychic deck again coming in. I think at the last 1K also got 8th place in the full grip 1K as well. But Brooke here plays, Psychic, Monkey, Dory, 2 of the cards that we mentioned earlier that have been seeing more play in Psychic decks. And I think it's just one of those ways that's kind of going towards right now with those low maintenance attackers. Monkey Dory, I think takes place of Dusknoir in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Dusknoir in this case, where it has the damage counter ability where you get to place damage counters on one Pokemon, 5 or 13, depending on where you are in the line. But Monkey Dory has it always online. If you have a dark energy attach, you can always just put 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon once per turn, and that could accrue over the time more damage that Dusknoir Dusclops could ever do, unless if you able to recur that twice. So Monkey Dory might be better in that sense. In that way, just get a dark energy on there and you're good to go. And then it also kind of serves as a not the best attacker, but can also attack in a pinch if needed.
And a stall
But pretty,
attack it can confuse as well.
yeah, it's a nice stall attack, so that's very good as well. But kind of going into it, I'm pretty sure this is very, very similar to the last time Brooke made the 8th place spot. When looking at this deck, Jeff, what do you see that might be different or catches your eye specifically?
Yeah, so like obviously the monkey lists are a little bit differently, and we had Ben on last time, and he talked about these lists that they can do extremely powerful things, but at the cost of consistency, right? When you throw in these dark energies into your psychic deck, and you basically only have, one Pokemon that's benefiting from that. Obviously, you can use the dark energy to cover those colorless attack costs, but it definitely does make some things more difficult, especially when you have a card like Dimension Valley. So that's kind of like the first thing I saw with this list. Obviously, we saw Brooke get bounced by the Ursaluna deck, Lion Chen's deck. And again, we mentioned how good of a matchup it was for that deck. And we just talked about maybe Otto's luck and dodging Psychic all day, while Brooke got some bad luck in her top 8 pairing after going 6-0-1, getting paired in probably the worst possible matchup she should have gotten or could have gotten all tournament there, right there at the end. Another thing that's kind of interesting to know is, outside of Giratina, there's really no other way to utilize the Monkey Dory besides your opponent attacking into you. So, like, there's no rainbow energy or there's no, like, frozen city or anything like that. So you're kind of just hoping that you can Giratina attack, put damage counters, and then maybe shoot them over to your opponent. I'm wondering if, and this is just me thinking out loud, if thinking about water being top dog now, at least at the end of this tournament, if cards like Old Cemetery or Frozen City might start finding their way into psychic lists like this, because your Hydro Pump deck, you're going to be attaching energy to Pokemon from your hand, and if those cards get to stick for one turn, they can do a ton of damage to those water decks and those water mons, while also playing into maybe your Monkey Dory game plan too. So I wonder if maybe there'll be a little bit of teching with this deck in the future. And this is just the tangent that my brain goes off on. Not that Brooke needs to do these things, but this is just what I do as a Pokemon player, is look at lists and be like, I wonder what this could do. Outside of that, you mentioned in the last list, Sinlin. We see Sinlin again here as well. No Palpad, no Lusamine, I don't think. So that seems to be a popular decision by light Psychic players. Birdkeeper again, no Palpad. Palpad's a card I really like with Gallade because, you can put those cards back into your deck and then just go search them out with Gallade. But Brooke might have been expecting Gallade to be kind of a target all weekend. So if you're expecting Gallade to go down, having Sinlin is a little bit more consistent, worst case scenario, whereas Palpad can maybe be a little optimistic. So I like where Brooke and Ashton's brains were at with that decision going forward. Besides that, strong list, powerful list, did cool things. Just got stomped by a bad matchup.
Yeah, and also Brooke opting not to play bench barrier as well. Forgot to mention that earlier with the Mew, the Mysterious Tail Mew, and not even playing the Mr. Mime. So there might have been some kind of gaming going on with that as well, going on into there. So yeah.
Well,
good
when
job,
you have Monkey, you want to play spread, right? Like, yes, please put damage on my Pokemon. I'll ship it back to you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, that's where whenever you're playing spread, you just don't play that. But I guess you want that. So, that's probably 100% is the case.
Yeah.
Only time will tell. But congratulations on, a back-to-back finish and top 8 at a full grip. I want to say 1K, 3K, just a K, full grip K. Good
big old
job.
Tournament.
Yeah, big old big old tournaments. Yeah, so if you enjoy this podcast so far, we're at the end of it at this point, but give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. We're going to do this every time a full grip K happens, big old tournament. Every time a full grip big old tournament happens, we're going to try to do one of these and occasionally do a regionals and stuff like that. So if you want any of that, go ahead, give it a subscribe, like the video. And this is Colorless trying to find itself again. After the bans, Colorless has just been in a limbo, not knowing what in the world to do with itself. And, in this tournament, tried to find itself again in a colorless control style, which we've seen, but this specific one hasn't found as much success as this specific one here. So it was really cool to kind of see that as well, kind of colorless in a whole new light. We've seen it in the past by Grant Manley do really well and actually get some cards banned in past full grip big old tournaments. Now we see it kind of making its way into a different style of control and doing well. I really like this style of control. It's just that, if it involves a loop, I don't want any part of it. I don't want to loop nothing. The only thing I want to loop is my shoe ties whenever I tie them. That's it.
Ursaluna is kind of fun though, because like the loop is disruptible, right? Like they put the stuff back into their hand and like, what they're trying to do. It's like hand disruption is pretty good against them. And the reason why Lion's deck did so well is like he got down to like 2 cards in his deck. And then you're like, I'm going to Marnie you. And you're like, cool. I'm just going to draw those cards back. Like that's where he got with his deck at the end there. And it's just got so many different loops too. It's just like, that's why I like that deck so much, is it's not just like I'm trying to get a state of like you can't play the game. It's like I'm trying to find the best way to beat your specific deck, and that might be making you not play the game, but it's your fault if you can't not play the game because you didn't play enough switch outs, or you were too greedy using your resources and discarding them. So like you can, It's and Mahone said this. I know this is like the 3rd time I've talked about what Mahone said. Just go back and watch Mahone's stream. But he was just like, this is the type of control deck you want to format. Like you can attack it in different ways. It's trying to take prizes at points in the game. Like if that's the way that control is going to be in Gym Leader Challenge, I think we're all better off for that. No one wants like supporter lock and item lock simultaneously. No one wants that. The people want Ursaluna.
Yeah, if I had to pick a control deck to love, Ursaluna is one of my favorites. 100%.
No one wants the psychic hand control deck that people are talking about after a couple of new cards were revealed. No one wants that. No one wants the top of your deck manipulated to where you can't play the game with no cards in hand. No one wants that. We want to be able to be like, can I kill this 280 HP Ursaluna? And if you can do that, we're back in it, chat.
Yeah. With that being said, guys, that concludes this podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm your host, Joshua Benson. This is Jeff Baisch, my co-host. We are the Unfazed Facts podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things Gym Leader Challenge. And we hope you guys have a great week. Continue to learn all you can about GLC, and we'll see you later.